I haven't yet commented on the victory of the Covington kids as it pertains to the Washington Post and CNN as of recent. But we have a new development. CNN and Washington Post may be sued again because their employees have breached the terms of the contract, at least according to the lawyer for the Covington kids. For those that haven't heard, the Covington kids, you may be familiar with the story. Native American dude walks up to the kid, gets in his face. The media lies and said the kid got in his face, and then everyone attacks the kid, and the kid was just like, what's going on? Well, the kids sued for like $250 million each. And there's a couple other outlets that are being sued as well, and other individuals. CNN and the Washington Post settled for an undisclosed amount. We don't know. We won't know. However, I will tell you this. The Covington kids did not receive, Nick Sandman, this one kid, did not get $500+ million. Settling a lawsuit for $250 million does not mean he got $250 million. I'll tell you what most likely happened. And some lawyers have pointed this out. Thus is the crux of this story, that he probably got paid a nuisance fee, meaning most of the cases were dismissed. A judge upheld some of them, and they were going to move to discovery. That is a nightmare and a threat to the credibility of these institutions. So they probably paid him a little bit more than nuisance fee. I'll tell you what. A lot of these lefty lawyers are like, he probably got paid $50,000 just to go away because the lawsuit would have been more expensive. In my opinion, not a lawyer, I think it was probably a little bit more because if they went to discovery, that could be seriously damning. If there were emails or communications that would be released throughout the court process, people are going to pay to avoid that, which means they had a little bit more leverage than just we expect to lose and we're wasting your time. That's the argument from the left. They were wasting their time. I think Sandman and the lawyer were thinking, no, we'll go to discovery. We'll see what their communications say about these kids, and it could prove they're anything but credible journalists. We may still lose, but at least we'll get to figure out what their thought process was. And so they said, what do you want? Probably got a little bit more. Well, here's what happens. According to the suit, apparently, CNN and Washington Post, employees or otherwise, are not allowed to reveal any information about the settlement at all. No one's supposed to know what that number is. And that's because the news organizations don't want to reveal that they ended up paying out a substantial sum. And Sandman and his lawyer don't want to reveal they didn't actually get a whole lot of money, So there's a vested interest from both sides to make sure nobody knows anything about the payouts. Well, this brings us to the latest story. Covington Catholic teen's lawyer threatens to take CNN and the Washington Post to court again after journalists, including Brian Stelter, tweeted speculation about the settlement in his $250 million lawsuit. More importantly, when it comes to Brian Stelter of CNN, he specifically retweeted someone saying he got $50,000. Okay, that is, yes. Look, we put in our Twitter profiles, retweets are not endorsements. Everybody does that. I don't know if they still do it. But the idea is I can retweet someone without saying I agree. I want you to see this, right? The problem is Brian Stelter is an employee of CNN who probably he's privy to information pertaining to the lawsuit. And by retweeting this, most people would say he wouldn't want you to see it unless it was true to some degree. Unless, of course, Brian Stelter is a liar and wants to send to you disinformation that would confuse you. Well, of course, Brian Stelter is nothing but a credible and honest reporter, in which case he must be showing us information that is pertinent and relevant to this case, in which Brian Stelter then shared information which he probably believes is true. At least that's what, he's sharing information. He's amplifying it so that you can see this message. CNN didn't lose nothing. Oops. Let's read a little bit. So we know about the lawsuit. We get it. Let's move. They say, let's move down. Wood first called out Stelter on Twitter on Monday afternoon after spotting a post the Reliable Sources host had retweeted from attorney Mark Zaid, who speculated about how much money Sandman walked away with. Those with zero legal experience, as far as I can tell, should not be conjecturing on lawsuits they know nothing about. What kind of journalism is that? Good point. That's why I always say, not a lawyer. I've litigated defamation cases. Sandman was undoubtedly paid nuisance value settlement and nothing more. Well, I'll defer to Mark Zaid, but I do think he's biased for sure. But I also think it's fair to point out discovery could be a much more, well, maybe that's what he's saying. Discovery is a nuisance as well. Sure. Wood shared a photo of the retweets, writing, "This retweet by Brian Stelter may have cost him his job at CNN. It's called breach of confidentiality agreement. Brian Stelter is a liar. I know how to deal with liars. The attorney made the same attack on CNN analyst Asha Rengappa, who had responded to Zaid's tweet about the settlement by writing, "I'd guess $25K to go away." In a retweet of Rengappa's post, Wood wrote, "Heads are going to roll at CNN. Sandman is going to filing another lawsuit and reveal the truth." Is that what he said? Was there a typo in this? He says, is going to filing. Yeah, there's a typo. Is going to be filing. Well, there it is. These CNN employees may have absolutely breached the contract. I don't know what the contract, I don't know what's in it. I don't work for any of these companies, nor am I affiliated in any way with Sandman and his lawyer. But that sounds about right, because part of the speculation from Mark Zaid himself was that he says in this thread, or I'm sorry, there's another person called Reliable Lawyer, and he says the agreement, like most agreements, probably says neither side or their affiliates can in any way reveal any information about the monetary amount. By speculating, Asha Rengappa literally did that. And by sharing this thread, Brian Stelter literally did that. Because, for one, the thread from Mark Zaid, which Brian Stelter is amplifying, does speculate as to the amount of money being given and makes it look, the argument is they didn't actually win. Asha Rengappa actually said a hard number, I'd guess. You'd guess. I wonder how you would be able to guess that. Do you have information? I don't know. Do you have inside information from CNN staff? Oh, she might. And thus, I'm sure Ellen Wood could easily just argue her guess is based off of information known only to CNN personnel. Therefore, she has just given credence in violation of, our confidentiality agreement. Wood also dragged Post reporter Dan Zak in the fray by sharing a photo of a since deleted tweet. And there it is. Dan Zak deleted the tweet. I'm sure they went to him and said, you got to get rid of that. You can't do this. Uh-oh. Too bad. He'd written about the outlet settlement over the weekend. Check this out. Dan Zak said, I didn't know, but it makes sense that the Post did. You settle for a small amount without admitting fault because there was none in order to avoid a more expensive trial that you would nonetheless win. It is, you might say, the American way. Well, he deleted this tweet. I wonder why. A spokesperson for the Washington Post has since said that Zak's tweet was taken down because it had no basis in fact. And there we go. Dan has no knowledge about the agreement. Oh, looks like Lynn Wood is right. These employees can't help themselves. They're such egotistical narcissists. They can't shut up to save their own lives. Figuratively, of course. It takes me back to the old lawsuit with Sargon of Akkad. You remember this? Sargon of Akkad got sued by Akilah Hughes, and she could not keep her mouth shut. She went on Twitter. She was spitting and yelling, oh, I'm going to make so much money. Sargon's so dumb. And then Sargon said, can't talk about it, guys. Sorry. Can't say anything. Sorry. And then Sargon won. And now he's suing for court fees because he won, and she still just won't shut up. Any good lawyer worth their weight is going to tell you, stop talking. Stop. Oh, they can't help it, though. So the spokesperson from the Washington Post says its post has no basis in fact. He has no knowledge of the agreement because they are desperately trying to distance themselves from what he said, and he deleted it because it does have basis in fact, and they know it. And by asserting it doesn't, they're trying to defend themselves because another lawsuit is likely coming for breach of agreement, and they're going to have to pay him out again. Oh, these blue checks, man. These blue checks, they're just such egotists. Glenn Greenwald pointed out, Jon Stewart pointed it out, that they're so egotistical. They take everything personally and they won't shut up. They can't do it. It's just an easy game to play. In a series of related tweets over the course of this afternoon, Wood pledged to take legal action against CNN and the Post if they refuse to fire the offending journalists. If CNN does not fire Brian Stelter, I will be okay with a good butt spanking, which will teach him not to ever again falsely speculate on confidential settlements. Wow. He wrote in a post, take him to the woodshed, CNN. They're not going to fire Brian Stelter. They're not. They're going to go to Lynn Wood and say, how much do you want? How much more do you want? The problem is the best part. This is the best part. the blue check journalists at these companies will still not be able to keep their mouths shut. I'm sorry, they won't. So even if CNN settles with him, they're going to have more of these dumb people being like, oh, whatever, I'll say what I want. And CNN's going to be like, no, stop. And then they'll have to start firing people. It's like a toilet swirl down to oblivion, huh? They're not going to fire Brian Stelter. They're going to offer up Nick Sandmann a little bit more money. Probably, several thousand more dollars, maybe more. Because I'll tell you what, while perhaps he doesn't have a strong case as it pertains to the defamation, perhaps it would have been a long, drawn-out trial and he would have won only a small amount. I'm pretty sure he has a very clear victory when it comes to breach of confidentiality according to the other contract. So now he has a clear victory, in which case he could, I don't know what he'll reignite the case for, but they say Sandmann also laid into Stelter, tweeting, I can't decide if it's worse to be Brian Stelter or believe Brian Stelter. He was never in any court hearing or meeting I was, so why does he act like he knows anything? It's unclear whether Wood's threats would hold up in court, given that the tweets from Stelter, Zach, and Rangappa are all speculative and in no way indicate that they had knowledge of the settlements. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. If they didn't have knowledge of the settlements, it's unlikely that Wood could make the case that they breached confidentiality. Sure, perhaps. I'm not a lawyer, but I would at least say the argument is they work within the company, likely have talked to some people. They have knowledge of what the company is doing, and their speculation breaches confidentiality. I'd be willing to bet, because several of these lawyers said this, the agreement probably covered their affiliates. CNN knew their own staff couldn't talk about it. Okay. Maybe it's a big nothing burger and we'll see how it plays out, but it's fun to think about, right? No one's going to get fired. If anything happens, they'll get a quick, extra little bit of cash or something. We'll see how it plays out. I got one more segment coming up in just a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.